It is 10:01. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Preds scored 3 straight goals to win their 3rd straight game last night in a 4-2 win over the Seattle Kraken on the road. Philip Forsberg with a goal and an assist on the night. Now 2nd in the Central Division. The Preds are at the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow before heading back to Nashville. Major League Baseball, only one player cleared the threshold of votes to be elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Former Red Sox star David Ortiz elected in his first year of eligibility. However, Sammy Sosa, Roger Clemens, and all-time home run leader Barry Bonds were shut out in their final year of eligibility with their careers marred by performance-enhancing drugs. Big news in the NFL on Tuesday. New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton announced he will step away from coaching after 16 seasons leading the Saints. The Super Bowl 44 champion did not rule out a return to coaching, just said he would not return in 2022.
I still have a vision for doing things in football. And I'll be honest with you, that might be coaching again at some point. I don't think it's this year. I think maybe in the future, but that's not where my heart is right now. It's not at all.
With Payton's announcement, there are now 9 head coaching jobs available across the NFL. As of now, a report from Aaron Wilson of Pro Football Network stated that Bucs offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich had a lengthy second interview with the Jaguars on Tuesday and is expected to be hired as their next head coach. Big night of college hoops in the SEC as top-ranked Auburn avoided an upset at Missouri, escaping with the 55-54 win. 12th-ranked Kentucky held off Mississippi State at home with an overtime win, 82-74, and Alabama fell to 13-7 in an upset loss at last-place Georgia, 82-76. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Happy Wednesday. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. You want to jump in on the conversation? We're going to have some good ones today, so you want to get in the mix. You can do that. 615-737-1045. That's the number. 615-737-1045. We're going to talk about the Titans and what their plan should be at quarterback. Mr. Monday Night going to be in here on a Wednesday. Keith Bulluck going to join us in the studio just about 15 minutes from now, and we'll certainly talk about Ryan Tannehill, what he saw on Saturday, and Harold Landry, because that is a name that is going to be on the top of everybody's minds for the next couple of months. He, by the way, going to the Pro Bowl. Jim Wyatt of TennesseeTitans.com put that out there. Harold Landry is going to be alongside Kevin Byard in the Pro Bowl, given that the Titans' season has concluded and they've got time to kill. So Byard and Landry on their way out to Vegas as we sit there right now. Remember, the Titans had 6 other alternates in the Pro Bowl, including Landry, Kevin Byard, who was the only one elected straight up. But I want to start with this Sean Payton conversation before we get into Ryan Tannehill, and I've got some ideas. I was kind of workshopping this last night, going over some legitimate options at quarterback, or what legitimate options might look like at quarterback that we can realistically discuss. Because, I feel like I spent so much time yesterday and on Monday kind of fighting off the idea of Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, some of those more ridiculous than others, but really just trying to get people to have a conversation that's grounded in reality. If you want Ryan Tannehill out, that's fine. You can want that. I'm not stopping you. Hell, I probably understand. Based on how your postseason hopes came crashing to an end with 3 interceptions in that game, despite what the play calling might have looked like, you got to be able to rely on a veteran quarterback more than you did, or more than you can right now in Ryan Tannehill. So I want to have a realistic conversation about the quarterback situation moving forward. But I want to start with the Sean Payton thing, because that happened, Lucas, literally right as I was walking out the door yesterday. I think Blaine and Mickey sat down to the news that Sean Payton was going to leave the New Orleans Saints after 16 years as the head coach there. He's only 58. It's relatively young, given how long guys like this tend to hang on to those specific jobs. You never see somebody leave on their own accord. Because in listening to that press conference and watching it back after I got home yesterday, because it was running on ESPN, it was running on CBS Sports HQ, everybody was carrying it, the NFL Network, everybody, because Sean Payton is somebody of legitimate consequence in the NFL. Not just for what he's done with the Saints, but going back to the Cowboys and on that goes. Sean Payton was asked why he's leaving, and I thought his answer was pretty interesting. This was from the press conference yesterday after Sean Payton decided to call it quits.
I don't know what's next. And look, I read the reports and I understand. I've not spoken to anyone from a media outlet relative to doing television or radio. Maybe that opportunity arises. But every time I read something that says, like, he's in line for this job, I'll call my agent, Don, and I'll say, Don, did you hear something? Because I've not heard anything. And that's okay. I think I'd like to do that. I think I'd be pretty good at it. But so stepping outside, like in the cold weather today, and being a little uncomfortable professionally or from a career standpoint is okay. I don't like the word retirement. Mr. B didn't like it either. He always said, retirement's overrated. We get sold this whole image of retirement by these investment groups on TV and golf courses and retirement. And so, I still have a vision for doing things in football. And I'll be honest with you, that might be coaching again at some point. I don't think it's this year. I think maybe in the future, but that's not where my heart is right now. It's not at all.
It's not where my heart is right now. It's not at all. Now, if you'll remember, we made a lot of fun of Penny Hardaway last week for having not a bit of an outburst. He had a full-on outburst at a press conference because he's been under some criticism. And honestly, after the fact, Lucas, I know you're still laughing at Penny Hardaway, rightfully so.
Perpetually.
Okay. But after the fact, I was like, I don't want to mock Penny that much because I want more coaches to be honest like that. I want Penny Hardaway to tell me exactly what he's feeling. And Sean Payton just did. You don't hear that kind of honesty from an NFL head coach. My heart's just not in it. That's crazy to me. But also good on him for being willing to step away. It's so rare that people in these positions leave on their own accord. And really, when they're still, maybe he's not quite at the peak because their salary cap is a disaster and they have no viable solution at quarterback unless you think that Jameis Winston is going to save that franchise. I would tell you are probably in for some disappointment there, certainly if Sean Payton is not the head coach. But the more that I kind of look at this, the more that I say, I have no idea how I would handle a situation like that. Like if somebody said to me, for what, and we'll just use this as an example since this is where I'm sitting right now. Somebody said to me, would you ever leave or would you ever publicly admit to your heart just not being in, say, covering the Tennessee Titans? Or doing a 3-hour radio show or hosting the primetime show for A to Z. Would you ever publicly come out and say it? I would say, one, you would probably hear it if I wasn't all in on these things. And two, I don't know if I could have the self-awareness to just straight up remove myself from the situation. I don't know how many people would. But I just wanted to start with that this morning, and we'll obviously pivot to Titans conversation over the course of the next couple of hours. Keith Bulluck is going to be in the studio with me, and I want to talk about realistic options at quarterback, a bunch of different things that we'll get into. Harold Landry, certainly, and why the staff changes that were made yesterday and why none of them happened on offense. We'll take your phone calls as well. We'd be happy to have you as a part of the conversation. 615-737-1045, because I'm sure there's some people out there, some Titans fans out there who are sitting there thinking to themselves, well, you know what? We already have a former head coach helping our defensive staff in Shane Bowen and Jim Schwartz. Why don't we go get Sean Payton and have him help Todd Downing? And I would say to you, Sean Payton, who has just publicly admitted he don't want anything to do with it right now, it's not exactly somebody who you would want to add to your staff. 615-737-1045. That's the number. Joey is in Kentucky up first on 1045 The Zone. Hello, Joey.
Hey, Buck. This is a kind of confusing statement. I'm from Louisiana, so a lifelong Saints fan. I live in Kentucky, and I support the Titans.
Okay.
So with that being said, it's been a hell of a week for me, dude.
Sure.
So nevertheless, I would just like to say first and foremost, Sean Payton he's a class act, and he's brought me something that I never thought I would see in my lifetime, which was a Super Bowl championship. But he's done so much for New Orleans and the state of Louisiana. And you're absolutely right. He's just an honest person, and I'm glad at his age he can step away. And if he decides to come back, more power to him. And if that's not with the Saints, I had the conversation with my son yesterday. He's 29, but he's still. If the Saints lose, I try to call him, he won't answer.
Huh.
I have to wait a couple of days. But nevertheless, we had the conversation yesterday about Payton leaving. And I said, you do realize we can't keep him forever, or a coach, player, whatever. And he said, I know, Daddy, I know. So nevertheless, he's with me. We had him as long as we had him. Let him move on and do his thing. And we were just lucky to have him. So I appreciate you, Buck, everything you do. And keep on keeping on, man.
Thanks for the call, Joey. 615-737-1045. A lot of people feel that way. It's, I think most people, at least if you're a Saints fan or if you're a football fan. Now, a lot of people hate Sean Payton, right? A lot of people hate Sean Payton for how he can be emotive is probably the best way to put it on the sidelines. But when we come back, we're going to pivot back into an offensive conversation about the Titans. Speaking of offense, Ryan Tannehill and what feasible solutions we could have for the Titans in 2022. I'm going to give you some options. There's not many of them. Let me be forthright in that. But what I want to know from you, coming up next, 615-737-1045, and Keith Bulluck will join us on this conversation, is this. What would you want the Titans to do at quarterback in 2022? Give us a call and we'll talk about it together. I'm Buck Reising. This is 1045 The Zone. Welcome back on this Wednesday. Got a little star power in the studio with us. Mr. Monday Night on a Wednesday afternoon. It is Keith Bulluck at KBull53 is where you can follow him. Boss man, I appreciate you stopping by.
Appreciate you having me on a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday.
I take what I can get.
Listen, you're you take what you can get. You can walk around this city and go anywhere you damn well please. What do you mean take what you can get?
And I just take what I can get.
All right. Well, I saw you at the game on Saturday, passed you by in the press box. One, I was shocked that you were in the press box because that's not a necessarily fun place to take in the game.
I was just making my rounds. Said what's up to, people that I used to, Robbie Bourne.
Oh, yeah.
Got to see Teresa Walker, Dwight, Jim White, whoever I could see. But press box is so boring because it's cool. How do y'all watch an exciting football game in silence? I respect it, though. I respect it. You guys are very professional because I have to get out of there because I'm not that professional.
I heard there was cheering.
There was a security dude going crazy in the background.
I love it.
When AJ caught that just bat bleep crazy touchdown pass from Tannehill.
Yeah, that was nuts.
This security guard behind us, I just hear, hell yeah! In the background, I'm turning around. I'm like, who the hell was that?
I'm glad somebody has some emotion.
My guy's in there fist pumping. He's hype, man.
That's like
awesome.
a sacred rule, too. No cheering in the press
For
box.
sure. It's an experience. The first time I was ever in the press box when I was retired, I come in and Robbie's like, nah. And I was like, all right, this isn't the place for me to watch football.
It's not worth the free coffee and snacks that they got in the media lounge. Go out and enjoy the game. Yeah, I mean, it's a different experience, but the role that we have is a little different. But you were at that game to watch it as a fan.
Yeah.
To take that in, there were so many different players. I saw you, Harry Douglas. I was hanging out with Woodyard and Jarrell and Arakpo on the sidelines before kickoff. And then the game happens, Keith. And, I mean, how do you kind of compartmentalize what it is that you saw?
You know what? Hainsworth and I were at our seats, section 107 EE. We saw Derrick Henry because I wanted to take it all in. I went to the pep rally. So, look, I'm invested as a fan because any other time I've been in this situation as a player, I'm laser focused. I don't get to take in anything. And, the first play of the game, it sets the tone because as hype as everybody was after Derrick Henry and the offense was out there, it's just like deflated the stadium. And then now it's the ball game. Cincinnati now has the momentum, and Cincinnati really all day. And it didn't really matter because the defense set the tone from the first series. So, I think that kept the crowd right there because the defense came out fierce, almost to the point like they're all right, happy that there was a pick and they got to go out there on the field and do their thing.
You were glad to see them.
Yeah, and they answered the call, and that's what it's all about. But as the game went along, I really felt that, with all the options the Titans had offensively, you got Hilliard, you got Derrick Henry back, you got Foreman who's been running like a madman, you got Julio, you got a full stable. I was just anticipating more creativity from the offensive playbook. Now it's easy to go back and be like, Ryan Tannehill, three interceptions. One was another unfavorable call after you just had a 42-yard run to get you to first and goal. Why are we being cute? We're a power football team. Run the ball. Run it with Foreman or bring Derrick Henry in. I just don't agree with that call with Mike Hilton, with that second interception.
Made a great play.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like he shouldn't have been in position to make that play. And then also I take it a step further when it goes to creativity on offense. I always feel our offense, Ryan comes to the line, whatever play is called, he calls it. You see other quarterbacks that have more, I would say, they could do more within their offense.
Sure.
If you see the nickel blitzing off the line, maybe we're going to check that and run it backside. We're going to move somebody over and check the play. I don't really see that happening too much within our offense, and I don't know, maybe he doesn't have the green light to do that, or maybe that's just not in the Titans' offensive game plan. I'm on the outside looking in, but, I'm just answering what I saw. And, I just feel like it was limited, calls with the play. San Francisco game, they were taking shots all day with AJ. AJ had a great game. He could have had an even bigger game. And I just don't understand the last series also, with the 2 minutes. We ran very basic, dive left to Derrick Henry. Then we're going to dump it, for a 4-yard gain. And then we're going to run a 10-yard comeback. That even if you get that 10-yard comeback for a completion, you still got to go another 40 or so yards to get in field goal range.
And the lack of urgency on that drive.
I would have liked to have seen them take shots because AJ was – anytime he took a shot to AJ, he was killing whoever was on him. But, it's all a learning process. So from this, there's nothing you could do but take it and learn from it.
Realistic quarterback conversations is what I'm trying to have at this point, because I know you're active on Twitter at KBull53. I'm sure you were hearing about it. I know I've been dealing with it the past couple of days. Like, all these people just throw out famous names of famous quarterbacks that may be available. Right. Some of them very much not available as we sit here today.
I'm guilty of that. I put Russell Wilson out there. That was a
damn it, Keith. You're part of the problem.
Yeah, for me, that's neat. Look, I'm not affiliated with any, 1045 or anybody. I'm just like, the voice of the people. And after the game, that's what the people were saying. So I put it out there. But then, obviously, like you're saying now, you have to have a real conversation about it. That's just silliness to say Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. We're in this day and age where instant ramification. You got Instacart, Instagram. There's no such thing as Insta quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Sign me up. I would take that. I would pay the $9.99.99 a month or whatever it costs for Insta quarterback. But with Ryan Tannehill, I mean, we're talking about limitations because I feel like people see him communicating a lot at the line and they assume that he's changing the play or doing something at the line of scrimmage. But I think people just don't understand how much quarterbacks talk at the line of scrimmage when you're trying to get the necessary protection organized or orchestrate the play call at the line. If you, though, as you said, Keith, he has limitations as a player. There are plenty of players who have limitations. Right. One of them is playing in an NFC championship game against the Los Angeles Rams in Garoppolo. With Ryan Tannehill, he's going to be on the roster next year. Should the task and the objective not be to maximize the ability of what that guy is, because that's the situation that you've been dealt?
Well, I think, in this league, the most successful quarterbacks are the ones that their coordinators and their coaching staff caters and plays to their skill set. So I think the Titans front office and the Titans offensive coaching staff have to figure out what they did well and what they can get better at. What can Ryan get better at? And I think, honestly, just being, a former player, each offseason, you have to do some self-scouting. You have to go back in the lab and, take your iPad. These days you got iPads, go to Hawaii, sit on the beach for a couple weeks or a week or whatever and really be honest about the way you played all season, because that right there is giving you ways to come back and tell you how you need to get better. Everyone has to believe in Ryan Tannehill to the point that he can get you to the playoffs. But the last 3 playoff appearances, his performances have been lackluster, or he hasn't done enough to get the Titans over the hump. And that's just the reality of the situation. There have been many quarterbacks who haven't been able to do that. One of my favorite quarterbacks, John Elway, didn't win until he was later in his career. I'm not saying, comparing Ryan Tannehill to John Elway, but there are plenty of quarterbacks that played great football and they just never won the big game. So we're with Ryan Tannehill is the Titans quarterback, and they're going to have to do things to, maybe even help the offensive coordinator with more creativity. He was a first-year coordinator, right?
First year here. He's been an offensive coordinator with the Oakland Raiders. So there's a body of work.
How did he do there?
Not well.
Right.
They all got fired that season.
Right. So obviously he needs some work. And then, the defense didn't hold up their end last year. They had some players that wanted to step up and did. And then they got, Vrabel doesn't say it. I haven't heard anyone in that building say it, but Jim Schwartz came in. He had to help because the Titans weren't rushing with 4 men last year and the years before that. Like, we solely rushed with a 4-man rush from 2001 to 2008 when Jim Schwartz was here. So I'm not saying that that's part of, Jim Schwartz did that, but he obviously was a veteran coach to come in and help, a new defensive coordinator where maybe Vrabel can put more of his attention other places, and Schwartz, he could help more on the defense because the defense got tremendously better. So I have confidence in Vrabel and Robinson to kind of balance out what's unbalanced now.
615-737-1045. Keith Bulluck is hanging out in the studio with us. We can take some calls while he's here. We got Tom, who's calling it. It's calling from Tampa. It's not the Tom from Tampa, is it? Hello, Tom.
Not calling from Tampa, but thank you.
Okay.
Just wanted to touch base with you. I had actually just listened to your podcast from yesterday's talk this morning. I had talked to Ramon, J. Martin Ramon, after the Pittsburgh game and after the New England game, I should say, and then the Pittsburgh game, in regards to the play calling and accountability. If you go back and look at it, the same exact thing has happened repeatedly. They run the ball between the 20s, get inside the 20, and I mean run the ball 5 to 6 plays are runs. Get inside the 20, and it reverses. 3 out of 4 plays are pass plays. We've seen what happened in New England. We've seen what happened again in Pittsburgh, and now you see it again in Cincinnati. I got to ask for accountability, and you guys are the experts with this. Does it go all the way to the top to Amy Adams? Because how can you guys, anybody, not you guys, them expect people to keep paying money into this organization program and have the same results? It's been disappointment. I don't care if it's pre-Vrabel. You can go back to the Houston Oilers days of Glanville and Pardee, where you end up with disappointments and heartbreaks. And this year, there's no way they should have had it. So you guys, please help me understand this, and I'll hang up and listen.
It's been a 3-day therapy
it's tough
session.
Being a fan.
Lucas was dragging his ass all day Sunday. He was down bad after the Titans lost.
I was like, it took some air. And the thing is, like, I can feel for everybody on that team. Like, they're gonna like remember this for the rest of their life. It's one of those situations where, defensive players are even sitting there wondering if, they could have made a play. Someone asked me, I was on the radio yesterday, and they asked me, if you're a teammate, are you MFing Tannehill? I was like, no, not at all. That's our brother. We're up. We got to pick him up because we need him. We believe in him. He got us here. And look, everyone looks at themselves first if you're really honest. So, that's the components of a football team on the inside anyway.
Well, and to the caller's point, there is a tendency to run the ball from 20 to 20, and then once they get in the red zone, Keith, it's so much harder to throw when the area is condensed. How much easier does your job as a defender get at that point?
Yeah, look, that's when you kind of have an advantage as the offense. But in this, let's just stick with this game against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
You just ran the ball down their throat. The defense is gassed. They're 4 consecutive runs, I think, for over 50 yards, and you just had one. So get back on the ball, do another run. You got to do things to change it up. But like you said, the caller's call in question, I don't know. Maybe that's just the OC's tendency.
Sure.
Sometimes we say you get too cute. You just stick with your formula. But if you have tendencies, those are your tendencies.
On the defensive side of the ball, Keith, it's hard to ask them to do anymore. I mean, they were spectacular on Saturday. And one of the players that's going to be talked about a lot specifically is Harold Landry this offseason in a contract year. You've seen Harold since he was drafted here out of Boston College. What have you made of him this season and basically his growth and development up into this point where this man's about to get paid?
Yeah, he's progressively gotten better. That's what you would like to see out of a first-round draft pick. You know, you put them in, they start to feel their way, and, you know, boom. You know, he jumped. He's been making plays since the first game. He made a play just about every game this year.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to do, most especially in a contract year. But, you know, Harold Landry's young enough where and I don't know him personally, I feel that he's more interested in putting his name on the map as one of the best outside linebacker pass rushers in the league. You take care of that, you're going to get paid regardless. So I think it will be important for the Titans to try and keep him. I'm not all the way up on their salary cap situation yet, but he's someone that you need to keep around. I think I read Kevin Byard even said that he would adjust his contract to keep him back. That's a very nice teammate he has there. Hey, why don't you just give him a couple mil out of your bank account? Here, you know what, Harold?
Just
I love
throw
you
you
so
some money
much.
under the table, Harold.
Here goes $2 million from me. Damn, you got it like that? Okay.
Hey, nowadays they sure as hell do.
Hey.
100% they got it like that.
What's your Venmo?
Right? Just don't take it in crypto. That thing is so bouncy.
Oh my God! I saw that happen this week. I'm very, very scared of the cryptocurrency. Perhaps we'll do some stock market analysis with Keith Bulluck throughout the course of the show. I want to talk about that pep rally on Friday night coming up next, because that thing with Jevon Kearse on the stage with all you guys, that was really cool. But we've got some people that want to talk to Keith Bulluck. Let's go to Lucas, who's in Virginia, up next on 104.5 The Zone. What's up, Lucas?
Hey, what's going on, Buck? Keith,
Yes,
you're the first Titans jersey I ever got as a kid. So shout out Keith Bulluck, man.
Appreciate
This Monday
that,
night.
man.
It's awesome to speak to you, brother. Hard to get that autograph in Virginia, by the way. Just
What
throwing
part
it
of
out there.
Virginia you in?
I'm in Rocky Mount, Virginia, baby, just north of Roanoke.
My family's
What?
in Norfolk. We can work it out. We'll figure it out.
Let's try it one day. I'll hold you to it. No, I got into it with a Titans fan on Twitter about the offensive line. And the first thing they had to say was, well, Kansas City did it. And that just blows my mind, because Kansas City is a different animal. You've got Pat Mahomes that can make any throw on the field at any time, but Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are two of the biggest mismatches the NFL has seen in a long time. Pat Mahomes knows I can just get the ball out quick enough, and that helps the offensive line so much when you got a quarterback who gets rid of the ball to a playmaker like those two and McCole Hardman. We saw that with the Bills. The Bills are a good defense, and they struggled in that last few minutes of dealing with Hill and Kelce. The Titans aren't set up that way. If you blow up an offensive line, and even a fan said trade Derrick Henry to lessen the cap hit and get a Russell Wilson, you're changing your entire identity. And Ryan Tannehill, the money, you all have made it very clear you're not getting out of that money. No, and who wants to take that on for what he's done in the playoffs? So my thing is, you keep Tannehill, and like you guys have said, build around him. You didn't replace the productivity of Jonnu Smith. Now, Jonnu was a crazy number that New England gave him, and you couldn't do it, but you didn't replace that productivity. Julio didn't come on until late in the season. So the biggest thing is you keep building on what you've done, because that defense is finally nasty again, and Vrabel's he's that kind of guy. He wants a nasty defense. Maybe shore up the cornerback position one more time, but, offensively, Tannehill's got limitations, sure. Well, how about you?
Oh, I'm sorry, Lucas. That's our Oscars music. That means your call has exceeded 60 seconds. Lucas is pulling the hook on you. We appreciate your time.
I got an answer for him.
Well, there's like 75 different answers to that one question. That's the game that we play, Keith. If they go too long, we play them the Oscars
Dang.
music, and we get it's a quick hook.
I
around
ride
here.
Rocky Mount.
What you got for him? Because you were like holding your head in your hands there.
Yeah,
for a
because I'm
hot
trying to
second.
make sure I didn't lose my thoughts. He started off. Kansas City's definitely a different beast. I mean, look, they had 13 seconds to get in field goal range and did it. We had 2 minutes to get in field goal range of the Titans and do it. So that shows, it shows everything that, might be lacking on the Titans side. Creativity from the coordinator, quarterback, like just all phases, with the minute 30, like 2 minutes.
Cincinnati should have
Yeah,
never
man.
gotten that
the
ball back.
and like just there was no sense of urgency. Like, they didn't take a shot. I don't understand how you just don't try and, throw a skinny post or something to AJ downfield. But, I don't know. And I don't understand the caller, what he was saying, blow up the O-line. I think the O-line is still a work in progress. I think they, tightened up as the season went on, no pun intended, because, they were giving up sacks early. Tannehill was getting hit, and I think they did a great job as they got
healthy.
players back, right? As they got players back and were able to play together more at the end of the season. I think the O-line was great.
I want to talk about that coming up next, and we'll get into that Jevon Kearse thing, because what happened on Friday night before the game was really, really cool. Keith Bulluck was on stage alongside a bunch of fantastic Titans legends to honor their friend and teammate Jevon Kearse, who's going into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that coming up next. Your phone calls as well. Keith Bulluck's hanging out with us on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back. Here on 104.5 The Zone, we got Keith Bulluck hanging out with us for one more segment. I didn't even do this on purpose, but I ordered some Just Love to the studio. I didn't even think about the fact that Keith Bulluck, you can go check out his Just Love in Brentwood. Keith, you said you might slide out that way after this?
Yeah, man. I like to stay involved. I'm not as hands-on inside the shop as I was when I first opened, but I still like to go, help out where I can. I think we're a little light on help today, so I'll help the mid-shift.
I see. Look at that, man of the people, Keith.
I just go do the dishes and clean the back. You know what I mean? And then get up out of there.
Do you have a special latte? Do they have like a Keith Bulluck special when
I
you come in?
have my own blend. Like I created my own Keith Bulluck KB53 blend.
Okay.
Actually, I'll bring you a bag. I actually went in and I cupped. It's called cupping. You know, when you do your coffee tasting.
Yeah.
I tasted several different coffees, and I went with the lighter roast. When I got into this business, I wasn't a coffee drinker, so I figured, I'm an entrepreneur, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a great local company. You know, it's out of Murfreesboro. And like you say, there's one here, and I wanted to invest in a local company, something I could get behind, and something that was philanthropic. So Just Love, a portion of the proceeds goes to adoption and foster care with every purchase. So even when you stop in and buy a cup of coffee, you're donating to families in need. So it's cool.
It's fantastic. Just Love Coffee and Cafe out in Brentwood. They're all over the place, but Keith specifically out that way. So I want to talk about Friday night because what happened on stage at that pep rally, Mike Keith out there holding court, running the show.
He's a guy.
Just absolutely shining. You guys get out on stage. It's you, it's Chris Johnson, it's Eddie George, it's Jevon Kearse. And while you guys are getting people hyped up and while you're getting going and signing autographs and everybody's losing their minds because you guys are what people associate with this franchise at its peak.
Right.
Jevon Kearse, who's the first player drafted by the Tennessee Titans iteration of the franchise, finds out on stage, you guys are all in on it, that he's going into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame while he's signing a T-shirt about 5 feet from Brad Willis, who's letting him know that he's in. How cool was that for you to be a part of, given the fact that, you guys all but came in together?
Yeah, for sure. Jevon was the first person so he was the first-round draft pick, and I was the second first-round draft pick, so that's a pretty tough act to follow, but I really specifically remember Jevon was the first teammate that came up to me and, said, welcome to the team, and, playing with him and just being friends with him, just knowing the person he is, and he got drafted in 99 or 2021, and for him to go into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, it's great to see. He's very deserving, and always said several things about Jevon. Like, imagine Jevon playing in a 3-4, a stand-up, a stand-up outside linebacker position.
That dude would eat today.
Yeah, imagine Jevon Kearse never got hurt. The year he came back, he had 10 sacks, so he got hurt twice. The year he got hurt in Philly, I think it was week 6, and he had already 9 sacks. So, he's a very special player. And I think that they should show more Jevon Kearse highlights because I don't think the generation now really realize what type of player he was.
It's an interesting point that you bring up because obviously, I've talked about this before. I'm one of these transplants who came to Nashville after Nashville got popping, right? Came here about 7 years ago, and before I took the job, covering the Titans, you do your homework, you do your research, you want to understand the history and how they got there. And to your point about Kearse highlights, there's some stuff on YouTube, as there is for everybody, but it really doesn't convey the impact that you guys as a defense during those years had together. And just what a legitimate freakish player Jevon was at that position. I was blown away going back because you have to really dig, and then you talk to people who have more access to some film and you get your hands on some of it and you're watching full games, and just the way that you guys were able to take over as a defense in a different era of football, man, it doesn't happen like that anymore.
Yeah, the game was played different. It was a different mentality. Blaine Bishop could speak well to it because a lot of he was part of his DNA. He passed down to Jevon and myself because obviously he left. And, those guys, those older guys that come from those 90s and 80s era, like in my linebacker room in 2000, Eddie Robinson was in year 13. So he played in the late 80s. So that style of football was still being played. So, defensively, it was about, breaking your will, dominating our opponent, and, just being the baddest MFs on the field. You know what I'm saying? So it was a fun time, and defense won't ever be played like that, and that's just because of the rules, and that's fine. But, we played in a great era.
With this defense right now, they're about as dominant a group as was in the league, at least from a front four standpoint. Adding Danico Autry, who was just a damn stud all year long. Bud Dupree, once he got healthy, I mean, his ability to disrupt really showed. And then you've got Simmons and Landry, as we've talked about. 9 sacks in a playoff game, and probably should have been closer to 11 if the refs weren't quite so late with their whistles. Maybe defenses don't outright dominate the way that they used to because of the rule changes, but what do you kind of see from that group moving forward? Because they have the ability to bring Harold back, and they can keep that core in place. I think it's most certainly in their best interest to do so.
Yeah, I mean, look, defense wins championships. Those games, as exciting as they were on Sunday, from a defensive standpoint, were pretty disgusting, especially, that Buffalo-Kansas City game.
Oh, my God.
I just think the defensive coordinator brain farted, as well as the safeties playing all the way back. So at the end of the day, defense wins championships. The Titans have a great defense. I'm going to call them a great defense, especially after the last time we saw them on the field. They were disruptive, the best defense in the playoffs, maybe second to the 49ers, who were able to get the win.
And they can keep you in against Buffalo and Kansas City and any of the against Cincinnati.
And they showed you that they can do that against explosive offenses. So I think you do your best to let that defense continue to gel, continue to get better, and look, mitigate the mistakes on the other side of the ball. That's really in all of these losses that these fans are talking about. Oh, they lost in 2001, 08. Anytime we had the first round, what was the common thing in that? Turnovers.
Yeah.
Turnovers. In 08, we had 3 turnovers, 2 in the red zone, missed the field goal. What did we lose by 3 points?
Yeah.
This game, the game they just had. So, that's just sports. And in sports, in the big game, you have to play your best ball. You have to.
And at least for one side of the ball for the Titans, and frankly, the offense kept them in that game. It's just those turnovers that absolutely nuked them, and we've seen how those games go before.
That's the most valuable thing in a playoff game is the football. That's regardless who turns it over, I don't care. Look, it could be a block punt, as what happened.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? So, it's the ultimate team sport. That's why people love it. But people always love the point blame. And, that's not necessarily the right way to go. Once you break it down, everybody saw that there's, you can count multiple ways, but got to protect the ball first and foremost.
Keith, you can't take the blame game away from me. That's how I pay my mortgage.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good with that. You're good at that.
Job.
I listen to you. I listen to you on the air. You're going to definitely get after somebody. But, yeah, I mean, people know they have to get better, and they will.
Keith Bulluck, he's one of the best in the business. He's been killing it all year long on News Channel 5. Make sure you're following this man on social media. He is laugh out loud funny. And he'll gas you up. He'll gas you up for some off-season conversation. And apparently he'll serve you a cup of coffee at Just Love in Brentwood as well, or at least wash the dishes afterward.
For sure.
Keith, buddy, it's always a pleasure to have you, and I appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
When we come back, we're going to continue to talk about this quarterback conversation. I'm going to give you some feasible options for 2022. Realistic, not Russell Wilson, not Aaron Rodgers, but we'll talk about it together. And the dumbest thing in sports. There's plenty of dumb things to talk about. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11:03. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Preds scored 3 straight goals to win a 3rd straight game last night in a 4-2 win over the Seattle Kraken on the road. Philip Forsberg with a goal and an assist on the night. Preds are now 2nd in the Central Division, and they are at the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow before heading back to Nashville. Major League Baseball, only one player cleared the threshold of votes to be elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame last night. Former Red Sox star David Ortiz elected in his first year of eligibility. However, legends Sammy Sosa, Roger Clemens, and all-time home run leader Barry Bonds shut out in their final year of eligibility with their careers marred by performance-enhancing drugs. Huge news in the NFL on Tuesday. New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton announced he will step away from coaching after 16 seasons leading the Saints. The Super Bowl 44 champ did not rule out a return to coaching, but did roll out a return in 2022.
I still have a vision for doing things in football. And I'll be honest with you, that might be coaching again at some point. I don't think it's this year. I think maybe in the future, but that's not where my heart is right now. It's not at all.
With Payton's announcements, there are now 9 head coaching jobs available across the NFL. A report from Aaron Wilson of Pro Football Network stated yesterday that Bucks offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich had a lengthy second interview with the Jaguars on Tuesday and is expected to be hired as their next head coach. In the Pro Bowl, Titans outside linebacker Harold Landry will make his way to Vegas alongside safety Kevin Byard as an alternate, replacing the injured Joey Bosa of the L.A. Chargers. Landry led the team with 12 sacks and 14 TFLs this season. Tonight, 18th-ranked Tennessee is in Thompson Bowling Arena to host the Florida Gators. The Vols looking for their 3rd straight victory. Tip-off is at 5 p.m. Vol Network coverage begins on The Zone at 4:30. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome in. Hour number 2 on 104.5 The Zone. How much fun was Keith Bulluck? We appreciate him hanging out with us for the first hour. We got a lot more to do, a lot more conversations to have about the quarterback situation. Boys and girls, I want to know how you feel about what they should do in 2022. 615-737-1045, that's the number. What should the Titans' plan be at the quarterback position moving forward into this next season? I'm not talking about long-term. I'm talking about in the immediate. That's all that matters right now. How do you advance from the point where you were unable to survive against the Cincinnati Bengals because of your offense? And there was ineptitudes on all sides, not just quarterback, but coaching decisions, lack of execution. Again, mostly on the coordinator and the quarterback in particular, but they cannot be the only 2 reasons they lost, although those are two pretty important reasons to lose or win a football game, in your case, taking an L. So what do? I think it's an interesting conversation because Keith Bulluck and I, we were talking about this, right? Have they plateaued with Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback? You made an AFC championship game. You lost that AFC championship game. And the way that you lost that AFC championship game is because Patrick Mahomes got some momentum, started pulling away. You didn't necessarily have the firepower at the time to be able to keep pace with him because of the way that the offense is constructed. And at the time, we looked at that and said, all right, they could be better, but they, at the time, it just felt like lucky to be there, right? In 2019, lucky to be there. Then in 2020, you host a home playoff game. Things are weird in COVID, and you don't know exactly what's going to translate from 2020 to a more normalized NFL season that we got this year. But you look at the Titans offense and say, all right, they've taken a step up. They can compete with the big boys as far as these games are concerned, and then the defense is just unholy awful. And then you get to the playoff game, the home playoff game that you're going to host in the wild card round against the Baltimore Ravens, and the offense is what falls short. Specifically, the quarterback is what falls short, and Derrick Henry is bottled up, and they force Ryan Tannehill to try and make a play, and he can't in that circumstance. Then you get to Saturday. And Saturday, Lucas is at an unfair – Lucas Panzica, who's making everything happen behind the scenes, as he does each and every day. God bless him for it. Lucas is at an unfair characterization to say that Ryan Tannehill wilted in the moment. Do you think that is unfair of me?
No, he threw 3 interceptions in a playoff game with the season on the line. I don't think that's an unfair characterization. There are a lot of factors that go into that, but
Sure.
that is what happened.
All right, so Ryan Tannehill wilted in a playoff game. We're talking about the 3 interceptions, but what also goes less discussed or under-discussed, the decision to keep it on 3rd and 1 when Tannehill has the option to hand it off to Derrick Henry. You have a 250-pound skyscraper of running back. Hand the damn ball off. If Derrick Henry can't get inches, and by the way, he couldn't get inches on the 2-point conversion play, so maybe you're not necessarily feeling as confident in that. But still, if you're riding with one or the other on a 3rd and 1, I think most people would say, yeah, Derrick Henry on the carry instead of Ryan Tannehill, unless it's going to be a quarterback sneak, which, of course, they did not do. It's not just that. It's overthrowing A.J. Brown when you could have had him earlier in the game for probably a 70-yard touchdown. And frankly, he probably could have had 2 touchdown passes to A.J. Brown, given the fact that I think it was a 40-yard gain that he hit him on. He didn't quite lead him as well as you would have liked him to. Maybe not a full-on touchdown pass, but at least yards after the catch in a way that would have allowed A.J. to basically play to his strengths, right? Play speed, play strength. That's how this offense is constructed. Mike Vrabel said it best on Monday. We have to be great around Ryan Tannehill because Ryan Tannehill has some attributes. And again, I'm paraphrasing largely, but I'm translating in Vrabelese for you. When they say they have to be great around him, they truly do mean it because Ryan Tannehill does have some attributes that can win you football games. I'm not going to do just recency bias, even though the last game that we saw him play was the most important game, and that game was lost in dramatic fashion. I'm not going to do recency bias because I've seen that quarterback do too much good to completely dismiss him outright. But when we talk about feasible quarterback solutions moving forward, and I'm talking about immediate quarterback solutions moving forward, I'm curious as to what people are wanting them to do and how grounded in reality that is. 615-737-1045. Speaking of not grounded in reality, let's go to Darrington, who's up first on 1045 The Zone. Hey, buddy.
Hey, in the words of Buck, hello, friends.
Hello.
Just real quick. I'm going to run this real quick. One, can you tell me when Don Davenport's coming off IR? I would love to know that. You know, that's your job. I need to know that for the people.
I can't. I wish I'll take the L for the day. I can't tell you. I don't know.
Gosh, dog. Okay, I need a real quick yes or no. Real quick. Do you believe that you're supposed to act like you've been there before?
Yes.
Then why did we have a pep rally for a regular playoff game when you were just in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago?
You know, that's interesting. So you disagree with the pep rally?
Yeah, like act like you've been there before. You were just in the AFC Championship 2 years ago. Why are you having a pep rally for a regular playoff game?
Because you can sell merch and make more money. You could sell merch and make more money, Darrington. It's a good business decision.
And then you know what you do? You have people ready to jump off a building because they got so hyped and excited for what? Hey, what did I tell you Thursday? You said the Titans are expected to win this game.
Yep.
Every time the Titans are expected to win a game, they lose it. But expecting that. Next, let me help you out for your job. Everybody wants Russell Wilson. It will cost the Tennessee Titans the equivalent of Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard, Tannehill, and a first-round draft pick to get Russell. That's just what Seattle would probably ask for if they was that stupid. Next, your best chance is to go get Matt Ryan. Point blank period. Go to Arthur. He would love Ryan Tannehill. That's when he worked his best. A couple years younger. And the way quarterbacks are protected, you can get more years, and you can just go into the offensive line. Hey, that's all I had for you. Real quick, real smooth. Bang, bang, bang. Y'all tighten up, people.
Thanks for the call. He's not allowed to say it, is he? He can't come in here and rip the pep rally and then say tighten up. He can't do that. He just did it. I love that guy. 615-7. I know most people hate him. I love him. 615-737-1045. 1045. All right, his point about Tannehill is well taken. I'm not going to get into the pep rally stuff. Like, it's good business. Go sell more stuff. Go get more people excited to buy tickets to your football game. The pep rally I get. The Tannehill situation, though, and as far as Russell Wilson trade, because here's what I want to say to you, okay? Just you and me. The way that I feel about this situation and the proposed trades, I am aware of the Matt Stafford, Jared Goff deal, okay? I am aware that big quarterback contracts are being moved in this day and age, and I'm aware that the salary cap has meant less. It's still important for long-term sustainability. But what I'll say to you is I'm aware that the salary cap situation is as fluid in real time as ever it has been, with voidable years and ways to make the money work, because it's all just monopoly money that you're playing with. That being said, the burden and the effort that you would have to go through to make those things work are going to outweigh the benefit, cost-benefit analysis on Russell and on Aaron Rodgers. Okay, the Deshaun Watson situation, that's the one conversation I'm just frankly not willing to entertain with anybody. I'm not interested in if you want Deshaun Watson or not. I would tell you if that is where your priorities are aligned, I would tell you to get new priorities, because that is not a feasible solution, particularly given that quarterback won 4 games when last he played in the NFL. Hell out of here with Deshaun Watson. But the other two, I want to have a legitimate conversation with you about it. But what I'll tell you is the cost-benefit analysis far outweighs, or the cost analysis of that far outweighs the benefit, even if you truly believe that the Titans, as currently constructed, are one piece away, because that's never as easy as it sounds. We're going to continue this conversation. You're going to hear from Mike Vrabel and from Taylor Lewan about an interesting conversation that I want to have about the quarterback, and I'm going to give you some realistic options for 2022. We'll do that and your phone calls coming up next. I'm Buck Reising. It's 1045 The Zone. All right, I've botched this. I've screwed this up tremendously. It's a Wednesday. Well, I completely forgot that we're doing Dumbest Thing in Sports. We'll do that later on in the show since we've already planned to have this quarterback conversation here, but I know how much people love to get those things off their chest with how many dumb things there are swirling around in sports right now. So we'll get back to it. I promise there'll be plenty of time for the Dumbest Thing in Sports. But I want to outline some realistic quarterback solutions for you in 2022 for the Tennessee Titans. So let's take a look at Ryan Tannehill's contract specifically, and let's talk about how much money, according to Spotrac, okay? I'm going to give you the figures. Now, we know that Ryan Tannehill, coming into the 2020 season, signed a 4-year, $118 million contract. Of that $118 million, 91 total was guaranteed. There was 62 guaranteed at signing. He is scheduled to become an unrestricted free agent in 2024. So this coming season and the 23 season are on the books right now. There is a potential out at the end of 2022. So at the end of the next season, they could essentially get rid of him with the total contract being 3 years, $91 million, with an $18.8 million dead cap hit. So that's the next time, 2023, where it becomes feasible to move on financially from Ryan Tannehill if you can't find a trade partner. Now, Ryan Tannehill is going to be 34 this upcoming season. He is scheduled to make a base salary of $29 million. This is the most money that he is scheduled to make over the course of this contract because of the restructure. Now, $29 million in base salary and $38.6 as a part of the cap. He accounts for over 18%, the most by a mile, the most by double. The next closest to Ryan Tannehill is Kevin Byard as far as percentage of cap that they are taking up. $38.6 million is Ryan Tannehill's cap hit this coming season, and a dead cap hit of $57.4 million. So, even if you find a trade partner for Ryan Tannehill, which right now is unrealistic, could something materialize? Potentially. Should all options be explored? Of course they should. But what I will say to you is this. Ryan Tannehill very, very much looks to be the quarterback for 2022 outright. Now, with that being said, since we're having realistic conversations, with that in mind, that excludes Aaron Rodgers, who is not yet available. It excludes Russell Wilson, who is not yet available. Unrestricted free agents at quarterback for this season. I'll go through the list for you, the unrestricted free agents at the quarterback position for 2022 are going to be underwhelming, I would say to you, at this point, when you kind of go through the list. And I will do that with you right now. There's some big names that will be available after the season, but not, again, necessarily at the quarterback position. When you're looking at the quarterback position specifically, you can go down the list and you can find names that will not necessarily jump off the page at you. I'm looking at Joe Flacco. I'm looking at Teddy Bridgewater. There's Ben Roethlisberger. There's Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tyrod Taylor, Jameis Winston, Jacoby Brissett. Oh, look at that, Lucas. Marcus Mariota will be available on the free agent market. Bring him home. Please and thank you, Caleb Farley. So Marcus Mariota's out there, kids. We could relive that whole experience over and over again. I mean, it's a bunch of Marcus Mariotas out there. I'm looking at Dwayne Haskins, Josh Rosen, like on and on and on it goes. Nothing that would particularly intrigue you. Now, elsewhere, when you look at the draft, because that then becomes the next conversation. Maybe you bring in somebody as a backup quarterback, but like Flacco is not going to push Ryan Tannehill. Flacco is going to push Logan Woodside. And if you're looking to keep your finances in check, a more expensive veteran quarterback is not the solution. So let's take a look at the draft class at this point at the quarterback position, because when we had Harry Douglas on what was that, Monday, Harry said this is not the year for you to draft a quarterback if you're talking about the future. So let's take a look at this, shall we? You know Kenny Pickett, who's going to be the consensus top choice at quarterback, not the consensus top overall choice. That's probably going to be Aiden Hutchinson, the edge defender out of Michigan. But Kenny Pickett is the top quarterback. Then followed by, and not necessarily in order, I'm just looking at the list of quarterbacks who will be available, Malik Willis at Liberty, Matt Corral of Ole Miss. You've got Cincinnati quarterback Desmond Ridder, who was in the playoff game this year against Georgia and was summarily stomped. No, Cincinnati played Alabama, forgive me. Against Alabama, Cincinnati was summarily stomped. Sam Howell, who was disappointing this year at North Carolina. Then you get into the lesser-known prospects, Carson Strong at Nevada. Is it Zappy or Zap at Western Kentucky? I should know this, given it's an hour north of us.
Zappy, and he lit it up this past season.
I would say beware of spread quarterbacks coming out of that Western Kentucky offense. That's how you end up with Taywan Taylor is a third-round pick. I know quarterback is different than wide receiver, and I know the coaching staff is different, but still, all right, be cautious of those things. Caleb Ellaby at Western Michigan, Skylar Thompson at Kansas State, and Dustin Crum at Kent State. Those are the top 10 quarterbacks that will be available in that draft class. Now, of those 10, probably 2 are true first-round picks, and none of those guys, by consensus, by people who you talk to throughout the course of the draft process, certainly in talking to scouts, and I'll be able to give you guys a lot more information next week when I'm doing the show live from the Senior Bowl at Mobile, Alabama, where several of these guys will be participating. At this point, none of these are franchise-changing quarterbacks. Now, is there the ability for somebody of these 10 to find a way through? I mean, remember, as we've talked about before, 2017, which was the Trubisky, Mahomes, Watson draft, that was considered a weak quarterback class. I'm not saying that Malik Willis is the next coming of Patrick Mahomes or that Desmond Ridder can live up to what Deshaun Watson was at Clemson. Of course, that's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is that it is a reasonable expectation that one of those players will have a fine NFL career. But you're talking about a team that's built to win right now. So could you're rolling with Ryan Tannehill either way. Ryan Tannehill's going to be on your roster. It is unrealistic to consider a trade for Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. If you are looking at a draft pick to push Logan Woodside, and if in a best-case scenario, push Ryan Tannehill, is this the draft to do it? My answer to you, and based on early evaluations, I haven't really dug into my pre-draft study just yet. In fact, I'm doing that very much this week before I head down to Mobile because there's going to be a lot of players to learn in a hurry getting ready for the draft process. What I'll say to you, just based off my assessment, and again, I'm no quarterback coach. I'm just simply somebody who's paid to watch and analyze and discuss professional football. What I will say to you about this is that in this draft, I think that there are better uses for the 26th overall selection, which is where you are picking at this point. Could you trade up? Yes. Are any of these quarterbacks worth it? Probably not. I would be shocked to see any of these quarterbacks, Kenny Pickett being the top prospect, I'd be shocked to see a quarterback go in the top 5 this year. It's entirely possible that draft stock will be inflated the more time that talking heads and the internet gets to spinning and all of these things, but I will say to you that it would be surprising at this point, based on pure talent and tape study, that any of these guys would be selected in the top 5. So, is that how you want to expend your 26th overall pick, or would you rather try and, supercharge an offense that's largely built to win right now with some talent? Do you trust your organization to do that? Which is a legitimate question after the last 2 drafts. I would say to you that John Robinson has proven that he is above average as it relates to his peers, but there have been some serious whiffs. And in a time when you just simply have no margin for error, this time being right now, Do you feel like that's the best approach? Or do you think when there is a better quarterback class in 2023, are you willing to wait it out? My opinion, I would say ride with what you have in Tannehill. If you can find an upgrade at the backup quarterback position in Woodside, do so. But look to bolster the roster with young, affordable talent with the players that you have in place, i.e. Ryan Tannehill. I would say stick with the situation, try and upgrade the backup, and do as much as you can to fortify the depth and the strength of what this offense already does. I'm curious to know how you feel about the situation, because I feel like a lot of people are hearing that and being like, bleep that. I want nothing to do with that. 615-737-1045. And frankly, I don't know that I could blame you in the immediacy of that loss on Saturday. Go to Andy in Clarksville, who's up first on 1045 The Zone. Good morning, Andy.
Hey, man. At least I'm first in something, huh?
You sure are.
Hey, fellas, I love your show. So does my wife. I wanted to let y'all know that. I got a couple of things I wanted. I'm on your side. I think we need to keep Tannehill. First, he was the great Messiah. He does good, and everybody's behind him. And he made a mistake in a playoff game. I'm not saying it's forgivable, but I believe the coaching Tannehill a little bit better would maybe bring that around. I really do. My second comment, and after I do this, I'll listen to what you guys have to say. The last few downs of the game when he threw the interception, wouldn't it have been feasible to run the football, maybe run about 4 or 5 seconds off the clock? I know Cincinnati had timeouts, but to get them down to the end of their field and let them make the decision about whether or not they want to go to overtime or turn over the ball. And, hindsight's 20/20 when it comes to football.
Sure.
But the way the defense was playing, man, they were fantastic, dude. I mean, they were playing lights out. And, I believe we would have had a shot at overtime. I don't think Cincinnati would have took a chance on turning the football over on their end of the field, and maybe it would have went into overtime. And again, we would have lost the coin toss, but the defense was playing lights out. And I'll let you guys ponder that, and I'll hear what y'all have to say.
Thanks very much for the call, Andy. We appreciate you and your wife who listen to the show. Family affair, Lucas. I always forget people listen with other people. I was introduced to somebody who's been listening to us for a long time. She's a school teacher, and she drives around with her grandkids, and she listens to our show, which is always a shock to the system for me. But about the quarterbacks, or about the final seconds in that game, the final minute in that game, running the football would have done nothing but bled more time off. And by the way, the urgency, the only thing that I would criticize in that final minute is why the hell did it take so long to get that 3rd and 5 play off? There was so much time that was bled off the clock, especially when you have 2 timeouts. Now, Cincinnati did have timeouts that they had in the second half, and maybe, you run the football to try and play for overtime. I guess right out of the gate, I think based on how the defense was playing, you liked your chances to stop Joe Burrow. And there will be, points brought up about the overtime rule with the way that Kansas City Buffalo game ended. But running the football would have done nothing but, bleed the clock more. And if they know that the run is coming, well, then you still risk the idea that you would be giving Cincinnati a possession. Now, they ended up getting it anyway because your play call and your situational awareness was poor, to put it lightly. And somehow with less than 20 seconds left on the clock, Cincinnati got a possession back in a way that should never have happened, ever. 615-737-1045. Bam is in Nashville up next on 1045 The Zone. Hello, Bam.
Good, Buck. How you feeling, bro?
I'm good, buddy.
Man, look, here's my the thing that on Tannehill is we go in the regular season, he's great, he's phenomenal. But it seems like every year the playoffs, the first year, Garrett carried us through there. He didn't throw that much. Then when we had to depend on him in the AFC Championship game, he could get through. Last year, regular season, he's great. Then we get put out by Lamar. The third and 5 or third down in both situations the last 2 years, he's thrown a pick, and we went home because of the same thing. That is kind of glaring and kind of hard to say. That's your third time in the charm. Now, I'm going to say this. Last year when we got to talking about oh, what's the potential of Julio coming here? Everybody, it's not going to happen. Y'all get it out your head. J-Rob made it happen. So what I'm saying is don't just act like J-Rob ain't going to toss this Russell Wilson thing around or that he understands what's going on. The first thing is first he needs to get Todd Downing out of here. That's first. Go get Tim Kelly or somebody. And let's try to put this together because the window that we have with this team is getting shorter and shorter, man. So I just wanted to, throw that out there. I love Teddy Hill's character, but we need a cold-blooded assassin at this point.
Thanks for the call, Bam. And listen, as I told you, even as I think the Wilson conversation and Rodgers conversation is ridiculous, all options are being considered. Every one of them, including those two. Again, those two aren't currently available right now. So you have to be realistic about the chances. One, they have to become available, truly. They have to be willing to leave their situations. Two, you have to find a feasible trade partner. And three, you have to make the money work. And there's a massive difference between an underpaid Julio Jones and a quarterback who's at value, especially one coming off an MVP season, probably back-to-back MVPs in the case of Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson, who is not known to be cap-friendly, is the way that I should put it. Ryan Tannehill is, even as you may detest the idea that he's going to be on your cap for $38 million this year, based on the average annual value, he's pretty affordable at this point. 615-737-1045 is the number. What would you do at quarterback in 2022? I've kind of outlined my options for you, and the best option to me is stick with Tannehill, find a backup that's better than Woodside if you can. If not, keep Woodside, and wait till next year to potentially, or in all likelihood, draft a Tannehill replacement. But that draft class is not this draft class in 2022, from my perspective. Let's hear from Dalton in Whites Creek up next. What's up, Dalton?
How are you, Buck?
I'm well, thank you.
Long-time listener, first-time caller here.
Love it.
I heard somebody earlier mention kind of something to this, but I haven't really heard anything as to this aspect of it. So we've seen flashes of greatness from Tannehill. We know he has the attributes to make all the throws. He can extend plays. He can do all the things. Why are we not going after the best quarterbacks coach available? Because a lot of the flaws in his game are coachable and I feel like are fixable. So why are we not exploring that aspect of it? Secondly, Derrick Henry is my favorite player in the league, period. But he should have been number 2 behind Foreman. Foreman has the hot hand. Look at what he did compared to what Henry did. When I saw Derrick Henry, I believe it was in the third quarter, cutting to his right towards the sideline and just fell down. Normally, that defender that he was one-on-one with, he throws him in the second row. He fell down on his own. That let me know that he was not ready for the game. And that's okay if you're not ready. We get that. But he should have been pulled. He should have been second. We should have stayed with the hot hand that was putting up all the yards over this past 8-10 games. That's all I got for you guys.
Thanks for the call, Dalton. We appreciate it. 615-737-1045. I'll talk about the Henry thing coming up next. We'll take more of your phone calls as well. We've got the dumbest thing in sports coming up for you later. So if you've got one in mind, there's precious few phone lines open. So if you want to jump in early for the dumbest thing in sports, you can do that as well. But I'll answer that question on the other side. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. We got the dumbest thing in sports coming up here in just a little bit. Got some stuff we got to get off our chest between Lucas and I. Do that later on. But in the meantime, we've been talking about what should be the solution for the Titans at quarterback moving forward. Again, to outline mine for you. You ride with Ryan Tannehill. You find a way to upgrade the backup quarterback position. If no such upgrade exists, you keep Logan Woodside. And you consider drafting a quarterback in 2023 after Ryan Tannehill's contract makes it much, much easier to move on from. Because this year's quarterback class at 26th overall where you're picking, nah, that ain't it. We go to Michael, who's in Charlotte, North Carolina, up next on 104.5 The Zone. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Buck. Thanks for taking the call. My gut tells me they're going to stick with Tannehill. Do I trust him? Absolutely not. But I do think that's the most feasible option here. But my question to you is, does it turn into a chess match? What if, the AFC quarterbacks we currently have, if any combination of Aaron Rodgers and Wilson come over and say go to Denver, who's probably a quarterback away, and the other one goes to Indy, does that turn into a chess match where we feel like if one of them land at one of those two places, does Tennessee say, hey, we need to revisit and go after the other? But, yeah, again, I think they stick with Tannehill here. If you could get a quarterback, I don't think he'll last around, but I think the guy out of Liberty, if he sticks around to about the third round, I think take a flyer on him and try to get him into the system and maybe look at getting rid of Tanny the following year. I'll hang up and listen to your call.
Thanks very much for the call, Michael. Again, the idea of getting in on the quarterback conversation with the guys who, again, I remind you, are not yet available in Rodgers and Wilson and may not be available. It's all just speculation at this point, although Russell Wilson's agent has previously put out a list of 4 teams that Russell would be willing to be traded to. So it's not like there isn't some interest in moving there. But again, who is taking the Tannehill contract? Because that's what the thesis of my argument is. Who is taking that $38 million cap hit off of your hands for a quarterback who just threw 3 picks in a playoff game? Now, again, I don't think all 3 picks were on him. I think that probably 2 of them could have been avoided. In fact, I do think that 2 of them could have been avoided with just a little more situational awareness from both him and Todd Downing. But again, who takes his contract if you're going to get into the conversation for these other guys? The answer is there's not really anybody who's equipped to do that right now.
That's where people pointing to the Stafford thing is so unproductive, right?
Because they flip-flopped him.
Right.
Yes.
The Rams were willing to take Stafford's contract. The Rams were willing to give up a lot of draft capital to obtain Matt Stafford. It's apples and oranges.
There's not a parallel for what we're talking about here. Now, it's a lazy comparison to make. And again, if you're making that comparison, I'm not calling you outright lazy. I'm just telling you, please look into the details of that a little more. Look what Stafford was on the books for Detroit for and what Goff was on the books for L.A. for already. They were already accounting for a high-priced quarterback. All they had to do was give up the draft capital for him and then assume the years on Stafford's contract, and the Lions the same with Goff. It's not a parallel. Rob is in Nashville, up next on the quarterback situation. Hello, Rob.
Hey, how you doing? Just listening to you and everything about, Tannehill. I mean, sometimes you got to take a hit. In order to get something better. I don't know how they're gonna do this, but I think that they may have to just shuffle around some people that they already got. Because if the fan base loses interest in this team, this team is doomed anyway. Because we all know Tannehill, he has to have the team around him, and he has to have the fans there. And this fan base is upset because he had all the fans out there the other day. A whole support system, and still couldn't get it done. So anyway,
all right, Rob, who are you moving? Don't give me problems. Give me solutions. Who are you going to move?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Just like other people. Just make it happen. People just want to see this happen.
I appreciate the call, Rob, but that's completely unrealistic. Like, here's my issue with this, and I don't mean to cut Rob off, but like, that's just an unproductive call. Like, what am I going to do with that? I don't know what they're going to do. Just do something. I'm telling you what they can do. You don't have a quarterback for quarterback trade straight up. Now, maybe you would say, let me take a look at Matt Ryan's money right now, because Matt Ryan is a name that comes up. But again, you lose then the ability to make plays with your legs. Matt Ryan rolling out is not the same threat that Ryan Tannehill is. All right, Matt Ryan, who has been playing good football and has just been damned by the situation in Atlanta. Matt Ryan's contract, and I've got it in front of me right now, his contract, his cap hit. Lucas, you want to guess what Matt Ryan's cap hit is next year?
Is it hefty?
It is substantial.
Is it like Tannehill level substantial?
It is Tannehill level substantial.
Wow. Is it in the 60s?
Cap hit? No. Ryan Tannehill is 38.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the dead money. Is it in the 40s?
It's in the 40s. What is the number for Matt Ryan?
I'm going to say 44.
48.6.
So much money.
48.6. And you want to trade for Matt Ryan? What? I mean, come on, guys. Like, this is what I'm saying. I'm not mad at Rob. Rob's just representative of the thing that I'm mad at. I'm mad at the idea that people are coming to the table with no real solution. And while I'm sitting here trying to give you the solution, you huff and puff at me and say, it's not good enough, damn it. Give me Russell Wilson. I can't. I literally can't. And I can't even get you Matt Ryan because he costs $48.6 million next year. I'm shocked by that. People think the Titans are in a bad cap situation. What do you think? Why do you think Art and Terry Fontenot, I think, is the GM down there? Why do you think Terry and Art trying to ship Julio Jones off so bad? Because they're in cap hell, like the seventh circle of cap hell. And you want to trade for Matt Ryan and his $48.6 million cap hit. What? Oh, maybe I can get some sense. Maybe this segment is salvageable. Maybe Sue Ann, who's in Nashville, she jumps straight to the line when she's on the call screen. Maybe Sue Ann can give us some sensibility here. Good. Oh, she dropped. She never wanted anything to do with it. She dropped. Unbelievable. We'll get to your phone calls on this coming up next. We got the dumbest thing in sports as well. Maybe Sue Ann will come back. Maybe we will hear her music in the background, and maybe this conversation will be saved. Or maybe not. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 12:02. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. Titans outside linebacker Harold Landry named to the AFC Pro Bowl roster. He will head to Las Vegas alongside Titan safety Kevin Byard. Landry initially was named as a Pro Bowl alternate. He will go in to replace Chargers edge rusher Joey Bosa, who is out with an injury. The NFL coaching carousel continues to spin. Now 9 jobs open after New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton stepped down on Tuesday. Aaron Wilson of Pro Football Network reported yesterday that Buccaneers offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich is expected to be hired as the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. After a lengthy second interview on Tuesday, Adam Schefter coming in just a couple of hours ago with the report that the Jags continue talking to both Leftwich and Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus, amongst others, but are not close to a deal with anyone at this time. Tonight, 18th-ranked Tennessee is in Thompson Bowling Arena hosting the Florida Gators. The Vols looking for their third straight victory. Tip-off is at 5 p.m. Vol Network coverage will start on The Zone at 4:30. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
I don't know how it happened, but it's already the last hour of the show today. Been a lot of fun. It's not done yet. We got about 56 more minutes for us to have a good time here together. We've been talking a lot of quarterback stuff today. We got the dumbest thing in sports coming up next. We'll get into that at great length since I botched today's show. I got mixed up. Keith Bulluck came in. I got my coffee delivered to my house instead of the studio today. I'm all out of sorts, so we'll get to the dumbest thing in sports later on in the show. 615-737-1045. Lines are off and popping third day in a row. We just haven't had a line to spare, but if you want to keep trying to get in, we'd love to have you as a part of the conversation. I know that there's been a bunch of people who've been trying to get at us, and probably this is the case for all 4 shows. We are 5 days removed from this Titans game, and it's still all anybody can talk about. Because there's a lot of ripple effects, right? And it really starts with Ryan Tannehill. It starts at the quarterback position. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can look at this, and we haven't even touched on the free agency part of this. We haven't talked about the players who could be out there for the Titans to potentially add their services. We haven't even talked about the players who they are in line to lose this offseason. We will do that at great length tomorrow, in fact. Looking forward to having that conversation with you guys because I think there's a lot of parts and pieces that are going to be moving around. But the quarterback is where things start and end. Now, I've asked you how you would handle it. And from my standpoint, we've gotten a lot of issues that people have brought up, and I've tried to give you a solution. Now, if you don't like the solution, there's not a lot that I can do to help you in the idea that Ryan Tannehill is going to be your quarterback next year and that you could draft a quarterback this year or you could wait to draft a quarterback next year when it makes a lot more sense to try and get in the rookie quarterback market as opposed to this year where it's just a cliff-sized drop-off from Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis to what is there next. A lot of developmental stuff, and you are in win now mode, indisputably. And it all comes back to how much higher can you make the ceiling? Michael Jordan said it best, the ceiling is the roof. Well, what is the ceiling? What is the roof for Ryan Tannehill? Where do they go? I'm looking at the situation for Tannehill and saying the third interception during the playoffs, Tannehill has been picked off. The first interception during the playoffs, it was the third time that Ryan Tannehill has been picked off on the opening offensive possession, including the playoffs. Drew Brees has done it 3 times. Aaron Rodgers has done it 3 times. They're the only quarterbacks to throw an interception on the first play of the first drive of a playoff game. They kicked you right in the groin right out the gate.
At least it's good company.
Elite.
A couple Hall of Famers in there.
Is Ryan Tannehill, Aaron Rodgers, and Drew Brees? We discuss coming up next. Oof. But it's bad, right? We talked about it with Keith Bulluck in the first hour. That first play just completely sets the tone for the game, and the tone was, ugh, oh my God. You're kidding me. You're kidding me. This is how it's going to start. Again with this. The one thing that they could not do, they didn't even wait until the second play. No, they did it to you on the first. What did I tell you? They have every opportunity to win this game, provided that they do not turn the ball over. And then what did it look like? It looked like Pittsburgh. It looked like New England. It looked like at home against the Houston Texans. It looked like one of these games where they were just going to shoot themselves in the face. And they did it. They didn't do it once. They did it 3 times. But the reality of the situation is you're bringing back largely the same team. Largely. I'm not saying completely, but largely the same team in 2022. So with that in mind, how would you upgrade the roster around the quarterback? Or are you firmly entrenched in the position, just get this dude out of here? Because it's a lot easier said than it is done. We've talked about Matt Ryan. We've talked about Aaron Rodgers. We've talked about Russell Wilson. None of these things right now are feasible. Even though Matt Ryan's dead cap hit is $17 million less than Ryan Tannehill's. Matt Ryan has a dead cap hit of 40.5 to Ryan Tannehill's 57.4. Oof. Matt Ryan making $10 million, or counts against the cap for $10 million more dollars than Ryan Tannehill does next year. I can't get over those Matt Ryan numbers. I don't know why I'm so stuck on that. It's ridiculous that Matt Ryan is going to count against the Falcons cap next year for 48.6. So it's not like you're the only team in this situation. The problem is you're back in this quarterback spot again. Do you have the one that's good enough? Cincinnati went through this for many, many years with Andy Dalton. They made the playoffs all the time. And Andy Dalton was never quite good enough to push them over the edge. The Dalton line, like that's the median, right? At the peak of Dalton. Can you win a Super Bowl? Can you not win a Super Bowl? Dalton was that line. Now I feel like it's come to Tannehill at this point in his career, going to be 34 heading into 2022, is the NFL quarterback line. If you're below it, you're bleeped. If you're above it, you're probably in good shape. Is Tannehill now the line for that when we talk about how good or how bad can your quarterback play be for you to still be in contention for a championship? And what he's shown us is that he's much closer to that line than we thought, or at least certainly than I thought. Dave is in Bowling Green, Kentucky, wants to chime in on this Wednesday. Hello, Dave.
Hey, brother. Just wanted to throw this out there. It sounds like a lot of people are against Tannehill moving forward. My thought is, what if you tried to move Tannehill for Deshaun Watson? Wait.
Let me stop you right there. Why, Dave? Why Watson? Before my head spins around completely.
Watson's got the talent. He's just.
How many games did Watson win the last time he was on a football field? I'm sorry to cut you off.
I have no idea.
He won 4. He won 4 games. Do you want the quarterback who won 4 games?
Honestly, I don't know who he had around him. Depends who he had around him. Coaching staff, there's a lot of things that go into it. So maybe if he had a different surrounding, he could have won a lot more games.
I appreciate the call, Dave. No. Just flatly no. That's the one I'm not willing to entertain. The Watson thing, man. And listen, again, I don't want Dave to think that I'm like pissed at him. I don't want Dave to not call us back because I was very, very dismissive, and normally I just try not to be that outright dismissive. But no. He has 22 civil suits for sexual assault and sexual misconduct hanging over his head.
Yeah, I feel like that should be your first argument. Not he won 4 games last year. We all know
I
Deshaun
thought that
Watson,
was obvious.
Right. We all know Deshaun Watson's he's one of the most talented young quarterbacks in the NFL. So I think you're going about it the wrong way with your rebuttal. Saying,
I'm going about it the wrong way.
He's going about it the wrong way. But I'm talking about in your rebuttal. Your rebuttal is how many games did he win? No, that's not an indication of his talent. It's the fact that he has legal situations right now that have no end in sight.
I thought I didn't need to say it.
Well, no, apparently you do.
He is allegedly, okay, innocent until proven guilty, totally willing to play that game with you. There are 22 of these things. He is allegedly a sexual predator, and you want him to come play quarterback because your quarterback threw 3 interceptions. Respectfully, again, I'm not mad at Dave, not Dave specifically. I'm mad at what Dave's call represents, which is a fundamental disconnect between people who are looking at the quarterback position and saying, upgrade this thing immediately. We need more talent to win, which I do not dispute. I am not disputing that by any sense of the imagination. What I am disputing is that you would bring an alleged sexual predator onto your roster just for what? To get to the championship game. There's no guarantee Deshaun Watson gets you to the Super Bowl. Is it to just win the divisional round? That's what you're willing to get? Are we sinking that low? Now, and let me be completely transparent. I am not one of these people winning supersedes all. What just happened to the Chicago Blackhawks organization with the way that thing fell apart at the seams, from the fact that during their championship runs, they straight up sacrificed winning over everything. When you've got a coach sexually assaulting players. Now, the Chicago situation is different, but there are some parallels there that are deeply, deeply problematic. So, no, Deshaun Watson cannot be a feasible solution here. Not just because he wasn't able to do more. If the quarterback is that good, it should look like more than 4 wins. I'm sorry, it just has to. I don't care how bad Bill O'Brien mangled them on the way out the door. I don't care how good or bad Brandon Cooks or Laramie Tunsil, or the fact that Bob traded away Jadeveon Clowney and DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of pretzels or whatever it is. I care that he has 22 civil sexual assault suits pending, hanging over his head. And you know what the NFL did? The NFL said, we're not helping you here. We're not bailing you out with the commissioner's exempt list. That's it. That's something that I'm really interested in. Why the NFL didn't make a move there. Because their out was, we let the legal system decide. Since when? Since when, Raj? They really pushed the Texans into a bad spot there.
He was on the injury report every day.
Every week.
Every day of every week.
And every time, it made me laugh every time. Oh, Deshaun Watson's going to be a big loss for them this week. Every time I saw him on the injury report.
NIR, not injury related.
No. In fact, it's much, much worse than injury related. It's sexual assault related. Oh. I knew there was going to be one Watson call. It's going to make my head spin on its heels like an owl. When we come back, we're going to take more of these calls. If you have a Deshaun Watson call, perhaps we're just going to play this game where we try to piss me off. Again, Dave, I apologize to you. I'm not mad at you. I feel like Dave feels personally attacked. I want to be clear and obvious that I'm not mad at Dave. I'm mad at the idea.
Joke's on everyone. We've been doing the dumbest thing in sports this week all show.
Oh, God, it's so true. The dumbest thing in sports. That's next. Welcome back. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. I like this. What is this?
Mais Que Nada by Sergio Mendes.
Okay.
It's a Brazilian song.
More of this, please. A little Latin flavor here on the show. About 30 more minutes to go. Our lines have been loaded all day long. I've got Jason Erickson in the YouTube chat where you can watch us on Zone TV saying there's no way that the lines are still full. Have you guys watched Lucas today or the last 3 days? Lucas hasn't had it. Lucas hasn't been able to talk into the microphone at all. He's been so pissed because every time we have 7 total lines that are available for people to call in. And I swear to God, every time I take a call or somebody drops because they've been on hold too long, like it is immediately filled back up. People are still rabid about this topic. And this is why I know that this loss hurt particularly bad, because people still want to talk about it 5 days after the fact. And listen, and I wish we had more ways to get people involved, but we've got Zone TV if you can't get in on the phone lines, and we'll go back to the phones here in just a second. Now, normally when we do the dumbest thing in sports this week, we take your phone calls on it. But since the phone calls all want to talk about the Titans, Lucas and I, we're going to do the dumbest thing in sports really quick, just ours, and then we'll go back to the Titans conversation because that's clearly and obviously what the most people want to talk about. Give me the music.
Let's be honest. You've already seen something this week that made you say,
"What the is this?"
That's bullshit.
What the hell? Give me some more now.
Something so mind-numbingly idiotic that you just want to get it off your chest.
Dumber than a second coat of paint.
Some idiot.
You are really dumb. For real. It's the dumbest thing in sports this week on the Buck Reising Show.
It sure is. We'll make it brief, and then we'll go right back to the phones and talk Titans. The dumbest thing in sports this week, allow me to start the bidding. So, the Bills and the Chiefs, the game that I was told would be the real AFC championship game. And honestly, it really lived up to the hype. It was incredible to watch Mahomes and Josh Allen go back and forth and back and forth. But throughout the course of that game, there were many, many things that happened. Not just the insane point total that was put up between those two teams in the final 2 minutes, where it was like 25 points scored in the last 2 minutes of that football game.
205.
Outrageous.
NFL postseason record.
Unbelievable to watch. And as Keith Bulluck put it earlier, just disgusting defense. Just atrocious defense. But my dumbest thing in sports this week is the Chiefs fan who stormed the field during the game on Sunday night at Arrowhead, who absolutely got decleated by Stephon Diggs, who came up behind him and just straight up laid the wood. So this dude, his name is, I'll read the name for you. I'm reading TMZ right now. 20-year-old Jacob Bross was arrested from the game and escorted off the field for peace disturbance, which of course means running on the football field when you're not allowed. The crazy part was that dude got up after Stephon Diggs just leveled him. Absolutely leveled him. So God knows what was coursing through that dude's veins. But the thing about it is there's a video going around of right before, because he's sitting in the stands, and he's on social media. A buddy of his is taking a video of Jacob Bross before he runs out on the field. He goes, "Buddy, I'll give you $1,000, $1K, if you run out on the field right now." And this idiot does it. One, there's no guaranteeing that a fellow 20-year-old has $1,000 to give you, unless you're just there on daddy and mommy's finances. If it's not your own money, if you're shelling out the $1,000 for one, I don't trust the other 20-year-old to give me $1,000.
Maybe invested in NFTs.
Okay, very good. An NFT of the guy streaking out on the field. That you could do that. That's a thing that people will do. Somebody has probably coined that, and now somebody's rich off the NFT of Stephon Diggs just cracking a dude in the back.
Yep, already been done.
Yep, very good. We're behind the 8 ball on the NFT. That and crypto. I'm scared of both of them. But this dude, not only is it dumb to accept a potential bet of $1,000 to run on a field during an NFL playoff game, but the fact that this idiot did not consider that how much are his legal fees going to cost of that $1,000? How much is he going to need to get bailed out of whatever drunk tank that they tossed him in for that $1,000? How much money, how much net gain is Jacob Bross, I almost said a bad word, Lucas. This person, this individual, this misguided person who ran out onto the football field, how much of that money is he actually seeing? Because I would venture a guess he's coming out in the negative. He's coming out in the red on this transaction. Dumbest thing in sports this week.
My dumbest thing in sports this week is one Quinton Spain. Many Titans fans remember Quinton Spain from his time here in Nashville, chugging beers with Taylor Lewan at Preds games, through a catfish. Fan favorite Titans legend, right?
Yeah.
He and his Bengals offensive line that allowed 11 sacks on Saturday, but really obviously only allowed 9 because of the late whistles on a delay of game and a timeout, took to Twitter after the game, first with an expletive-laced tirade directed at Jeffrey Simmons, which he later deleted, and then with this, which is still up. Y'all doing all that talking. How about y'all go ask at GrindSimmons94, Jeffrey Simmons' Twitter handle, what I said to him in his face during the game and after the game, and then come talk to me. If he a real one, he would tell you all the truth. Great team win, and on to the next one. Great team win.
No.
You're really willing to throw that out there?
You don't get to say team win when you gave up 11 sacks.
Tied an NFL, should have broken an NFL postseason record, but officially tied an NFL postseason record. Buddy, you're lucky you've got Joe Cool out there at quarterback and Legatron Evan McPherson as your kicker. That's the only reason that you're going to be allowing 5 sacks to Chandler Jones in the AFC Championship game this weekend.
What an idiot Quinton Spain is. And listen, I liked Quinton Spain when he was here. I cannot speak to his level of intelligence other than to say his behavior on social media would appear. I will not call Quinton Spain an idiot. I will say that he is displaying the behavior of somebody who is an idiot. Quinton Spain out here loud on social media when all he did, I watched that game back several times, and I watched Simmons specifically. I watched Jeff pick up and throw offensive linemen for the Cincinnati Bengals physically off their feet, giant 300-pound men, as he has done all year long, and yet Quinton Spain has the balls to get on social media and say, if he's a real one, he'll tell you what I said to him in his face. And why were you in his face, Quinton Spain? Because he was physically picking you up and holding you like a child, like Simba in The Lion King, holding you up as the sacrificial offensive lineman. And only then and only then, were you able to get off whatever bleep talking you were doing in Jeffrey Simmons' face. What a coward.
I want to see this energy when Chris Jones, I think I said Chandler Jones earlier. It doesn't matter who's in front of the Bengals offensive line on Sunday. I want to see this energy when Chris Jones goes off on Sunday in the AFC Championship.
Those are the dumbest things in sports this week. Normally we'd take your calls on this, but the lines are loaded with Tannehill conversation, and so we will pivot now back to the Titans talk. That was good. That was therapeutic. We've had a long week, Lucas, you and I. I felt that was good to get off our chest. Very dumb. 615-737-1045. We got Jacob in Springfield who's been waiting patiently up next on 1045 The Zone. Hello, Jacob.
Yeah, it's Jacob. My friends call me Bradley, but my best friends, they call me Deer Toad. Now, listen, I got for you, Buck, the solution for the Tennessee Titans at quarterback and at offensive coordinator.
I can't wait to hear it.
That is Sean Mannion. Get him. He can do both jobs. I'll hang up and listen. Go Vols, Rocky Top.
I think that sounded suspiciously like Zach Lyons from Football and Other F Words.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Mannion has been a plague in my life for many years now. Ever since pre-Arthur Smith, since after Matt LaFleur, the legend of Sean Mannion. I see you, Zach. I hear you. Don't think you can cover this up. Noted Alabama fan, Zach Lyons of the Football and Other F Words. What, Jacob in Springfield, my friends call me Deer Toad. No.
The red flag, too, was just saying Rocky Top. Like, Tennessee fans don't just go around saying Rocky Top.
Hey, Rocky Top. Right, it sounds like
I love Payton Manning.
That's what they say.
Right.
Only when they're in trouble, right, Bev?
Yeah, just Bev.
I love Payton Manning.
That's right, Bev. Then he would have tried. Then he could have gotten it by us, but no. I'm on to you. Manuary will not take place. I will hear none of it. We go next to Roger and Dixon, who I'm sure has more sense. Hello, Roger.
Hello, Buck. I was wanting to say about the offensive coordinator. I think if you could get Drew Brees to be the offensive coordinator, he would do good because he's already been through that kind of situation that Ryan Tannehill's going through. And I think he would do good as an offensive coordinator. We need to get rid of the one we got now.
Well, I appreciate the call, Roger. I don't think Drew Brees is leaving his NBC gig. Didn't Sean Payton say yesterday that they tried to get Drew Brees to come back and play for them this year?
Yeah, now maybe NBC's trying to get Sean Payton to go join up with Drew Brees.
No, the TV booth seems like a lot more comfortable. They tried to get Drew, and I know you're talking about coaching as opposed to playing, Roger. But Drew Brees, when he was asked if he wanted to come back and play this year by the Saints, he sent them a picture of a golf course because life's a lot easier for Drew Brees right now. And I don't think after years of going through this as a player that he wants to go back into, I mean, it's hell being a coach. It really is. And I understand that they're very well compensated, that people probably don't think these jobs are as hard as they actually are. But as serious as football people take them, it is an unholy suffering to be a coach in this league when you've got Mike Vrabel and his staff sleeping on air mattresses in the facility because they can't figure out how to beat the damn Cincinnati Bengals. Drew Brees doesn't want to live that life, respectfully. Johnny is in Chattanooga up next on 104.5 The Zone. Hello, Johnny.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What you got?
Hey, I've just been listening to the Tannehill analysis, and I agree with you all. To the people that, kind of want Russell Wilson and Rodgers or are interested in exploring that avenue, I'd say they haven't been to a Super Bowl themselves in a long time. It's
Rodgers been to one.
Yes, they would be.
Rodgers been to one.
Yeah, and that was like 2010.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, like 2014 since Russell. So I mean, like, would they be an upgrade? Sure. Is it going to be like worth the cost? I really don't think so. Especially because like I think probably our biggest need is we haven't had like a true field stretcher and also somebody that could serve as a legit threat at the the punt game and kickoff return game. And tight end definitely. Offensive line, we need to start looking at the age there. So I mean, with all the needs that we still have, trying to move on from Tannehill at this point, I think would be a mistake.
Thanks for the call, Johnny. I appreciate it. I must admit, though, Johnny, and I do agree with your analysis that there are other places to look. Lucas, this may make your life 10 times more miserable because once I say this into the microphone about what just came across my timeline, people are going to lose their minds here in Tennessee. This is from Ian Rappaport, all right? It's Titans adjacent. It's not Titans news, but it's Titans adjacent. Let me read this tweet for you. The Raiders recently conducted a pair of GM interviews. They spoke with Falcons national scout and former Titans general manager Rustin Webster.
Who has?
The Raiders. They fired Mike Mayock, who's going to go back and do television. Rustin Webster is out here getting job interviews. Wow. In what world? That man, and I understand that it wasn't solely Rustin Webster's fault that the Titans went to hell under his watch, but he was a big part of that. The idea, now they're also apparently interviewing Steelers pro scouting coordinator Brandon Hunt, according to Tom Pelissero, but rap sheet with it first. They spoke with Falcons national scout and former Titans general manager Rustin Webster to get back in the game as a GM. That offends me. That offends me deeply as somebody who has seen how big a difference John Robinson has made since Rustin Webster. Did he draft wasn't David Cobb or Bishop Sankey like the first running back drafted in that class the last year he was here? Oh,
lasted about 2 years.
Oh, my God. There are so many. DGB, like the list of just disaster draft picks. Now, Lewan and Mariota were both selected by Rustin Webster. I believe Avery Williamson was another. Like there were some free agent signings that were made under Rustin. All well and good, but oh my God, that cannot be allowed to happen again to another NFL organization. Oof. All right, we move on. Emily is in Murfreesboro. She wants to chime in. Hello, Emily.
Hey there, Buck. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for the call.
Thank you. Hey, I think I'm going to be the only person in the state with this opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tyler Lewan is a lot of the problem for Ryan Tannehill. Tyler Lewan spends a lot of his time in the tent or on the sidelines or in the locker room or at home on the couch, I guess. And when he's out there, he's a kitty cat. If I were Ryan Tannehill, I'd go to Vrabel and Robinson and say, one of us has got to go because this guy's going to get me killed.
I appreciate the call, Emily. Thank you. Listen, I don't think you're alone in that opinion. There's plenty of people who want Taylor Lewan out of here. Now, as I look at Lewan, and again, the availability is the biggest issue, right, Emily? To your point. Now, down the stretch, he did finish out the season. How strongly he finished the season, I think, is a matter of some debate. But overall, he graded out, and again, these are pro football focused metrics. I'm looking at pressures allowed. I'm looking at offensive snaps played. He played 846. They had over 1,300 offensive snaps this year. No, excuse me, over 1,100 snaps this year played on offense. And of those 1,100, Taylor Lewan played 846. So again, the vast majority, but not enough when you're supposed to be a stud first-round draft pick at the left tackle position, and he's just now 30. I'll say to you that his availability does create issues. Against the San Francisco 49ers, Todd Downing, one of the finer moments of Todd Downing's season, I thought they devised a protection plan well to kind of help Dylan Radins because Radins wasn't good enough. The problem here is, Emily, is that you don't have a better solution to Lewan. The finances are going to be interesting. And I know for a fact that internally it's very, very much being discussed as to what specifically to do with Taylor. It is not guaranteed that this man returns this year. In fact, he was very steadfast, Lucas. I believe we have that audio of Taylor Lewan being very steadfast in his opinion that he was returning to the Tennessee Titans this year. And I would tell Taylor in an honest moment, both publicly and privately, I think that his opinion on this is skewed by his own prism.
That's in question. I think everyone knows. I will say this has been a year of adversity for me, and not my best year by any means. But I think it's pretty obvious that first year, unless you're Adrian Peterson, is tough coming back. You know, I didn't have a full off season to train. I was really focusing on my knee, and my conditioning wasn't as good. My strength wasn't as good. My power wasn't as good. There's a lot of things that weren't up to my standard. And then with me comes other injuries like a back, and it's just how the anatomy works. And so I have no doubt that I'll be back next year. I think, and I'll be back to myself. I have no doubt about that.
All right, he brought up not just a knee, but a back. And honestly, I thought Taylor did himself a disservice in that moment because he's explaining all the reasons why he should be back. And I think in a perfect world, he should just ignore that question. And by the way, there's a whole podcast out. Taylor talked about this for an hour and a half on Bussin' with the Boys. So if you want to hear from Taylor, you can do that. He's got a podcast. I don't know how much more detail he went in. I don't know how much of that gets edited out because they got to protect him from himself at times. What I'll say to you is the only issue that I have with that, Emily, is what do you do at left tackle? Because what I saw from Dylan Radins, again, a limited sample size and within a rookie year, what they told you by the lack of availability by Dylan Radins on days when he was often a healthy scratch is that he's not ready for any of these positions just yet, much less the most important position. Actually, the most important position is probably the center. But the second most important position on an offensive line is that left tackle. And right now, until they have a better solution than Taylor, I don't know that Taylor should be the first on the chopping block. But it's being talked about. It's being talked about very, very much. Last call for phone calls coming up next. We'll get as many as we can in before the end of the show, and we'll do some polls. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. That's what it's felt like on the phone lines. Fuel, fire, blood, all of it. I don't know how we're doing. Today's the last day that we can do this, right? Respectfully, we got a call for Drew Brees for offensive coordinator and then a Sean Mannion.
Yeah, we got to draw the line on the Drew Brees. The Mannion thing is a prank, but the Drew Brees thing, that's where the line is.
All right, so how would you have had me handle that call? Because I didn't want to, blow the guy out of the water, but that was a tough one to kind of look at and be like,
let him down gently.
We try, right? I don't want people to not call us because I'm a jerk. But I do want people to be realistic again about this. I came in today. I said, we're going to have a very reasonable, sensible conversation. Then what happened? Sean Mannion. What are you going to do?
Joe Rexroad tweeted at us, said, that's so dumb. Brady would be way better.
You know what? Right, to hell with Rexroad, too. Because I don't know if you read his column in The Athletic off that game where he's trying to put Ryan Tannehill and Andy Dalton's names together and Ryan Tannehill and Alex Smith's names together, and he's combining them into these mutated Ryandy Daltahill. Just
that was good.
No, it's not good. No, it's not good. He texts me all the time every time I screw something. Every time I write something he disagrees with. In the meantime, he's making these Frankenstein monster Ryan Tannehill, Andy Dalton things.
He combined Tannehill and Alex Smith's name in a big word jumble. Blaine and Mickey were talking about that too, the Alex Smith with Pat Mahomes behind him conversation. And how
I will not give Rex Road more life than he
liked
deserves.
I chuckled. I audibly chuckled when I read that.
Tom Brady would be way better. I hate him. Christian in Murfreesboro. Save us, please. Hello, Christian.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going well.
I think, I'm not saying Tannehill's the answer, but I don't think this draft class is the one for him. I think it's next year. I think we need to look at guys like Chris Olave, get another receiver up in there. And offensive line-wise, I think we need to look at free agency, but I'm not completely out on Tannehill. Everybody has their bad games. I know he's had more than most, but he's gotten us where we are in the past 3 years. We wouldn't have been there without him.
I don't disagree. Thanks for the call. Yeah, again, free agency, you got to be careful because your money is way, way up this season. It's got to be something that you have to really evaluate whether the price point is worth it. Last call for the day. I know there's been a lot of people that are waiting on hold. A lot of people have been trying to get through, but we go to Jacob in Gladeville up next on 104.5 The Zone. Hello, Jacob.
Hey, Buck, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
All right. There's been a lot of people calling in about wanting to get rid of Tannehill and wanting to get in Rodgers, Russell Wilson, whoever. Fact of the matter is, he's not going anywhere. It costs too much money to get rid of.
Yep.
And people need to remember that the Titans were not this good not very long ago. I still remember the 1 and 2 win seasons, and we got to be grateful for what we've done in the past 3 years, making the playoffs every year. Then we got to take a long walk in the shoes of a Jets fan, a Lions fan, Browns, Giants fan, and we just need to be more grateful and realize it could be much, much worse.
It could. It could certainly get worse. There'll be plenty of time to talk about it. V-Love said, and V-Love just tweeted us, I'm not afraid to walk away from sports talk completely until August. Oh, God. Give me the polls.
All right, then. I reckon I'll talk about a poll update. This is Carl Childers. There's a young feller. I think he's got the final numbers. Here's the producer of the Buck Reising Show. A feller named Lucas Panzeker. Got any mustard and biscuits?
What should the Titans' first task be to accomplish this offseason? Lebowski says sell the team to Bon Jovi.
He's not doing anything but playing golf and hanging out with Belichick. Maybe he wants to own the Titans.
Charlie Burris in full burn-it-down mode. New OC, new QB. If that doesn't happen, new GM.
Charlie wanted Mike Vrabel fired all year long, and all Mike did was become coach of the year.
Mahogany with the serious answer says re-sign Landry and Ben Jones.
Yeah, that makes sense. Of course, we can't have too much of that.
What should the Titans' quarterback plan be for 2022? 71% say Tannehill and draft pick. 8% say Tannehill and Woodside. 21% say trade for Deshaun Watson. And I'm amazed at the people that didn't see the sarcasm in this text with the capital and lowercase letters like the SpongeBob meme.
Do you know how long that took me to type that out that way and people still didn't get the sarcasm? You cannot be surprised by that, Lucas. I've stopped being surprised by the amount of, lack of awareness.
But why would you even put Deshaun Watson on here?
Why? Because people want him. That's why.
What do you want to see Sean Payton doing next? 43% say broadcasting, 31% say coaching the Cowboys, 17% say the Amazon Thursday Night Football broadcast. Bucket with the winner says starring in a remake of King of Queens.
Yeah, I can't do any better than that. I don't have a better joke than that. Those the polls?
Those the polls.
All right, very good. That's going to do it for us today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk a whole hell of a lot about Harold Landry, players who are leaving the Tennessee Titans in 2022, and the players who they absolutely must re-sign. But in the meantime, Blaine and Mickey going to keep you entertained. Coming up next.